Hello. I don't know. It's open? Yes. Hello to everybody. My name is Andrea Bernat, and I will be for the next day the host on behalf of Astra National Museum. And I'm very glad that you all managed to come today and to visit us and to be together. Also, it will be a good chance to meet and to know you better and you to know our museum better. But now, as a welcoming moment, as an official welcoming moment, I would like you to introduce our General Director, who is also the president of the museums network here in Romania, and who is also a wood specialist and a lover. So here it is, our General Director, please.
Thank you, Andrea. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to have you here, all of you, and I think it's a good start for the future. Why? Because we have to manage in the future to have a lot of these conferences because we need solutions for the future. If we want to have in the future open-air museums with all the artifacts that are in an open-air museum, then we have to find good solutions, green solutions for all those buildings. And if you make a research on EU level, around 75%, if not 80% of the buildings from the open-air museums are built in wood. So it's a challenge to maintain them, to conserve them, to restore them, but also it's a challenge to find proper solutions in order to have this carbon footprint low. Because all the rules that EU will give in the future, we have to apply it in the open-air museums. And in my opinion, I think the open-air museums can be provider for the green transitions because all the know-how from the past can provide solutions for the future. And we think here in the museum how will look our open-air museum in the next 50 years. What will we let for the people who will come after us as a collections? How many of the artifacts we have to assume that they will be lost? We have great issues with the straw roof because now the straw doesn't have any more concentrations of wax like they used to have in the past. But also, what we will do with the most important resources that we have right now, human resources. We still have a lot of craftsmen in the countryside who know these old techniques in order to maintain an old building? How can we manage to have young craftsmen for the past, because we will need them in the open air museum to make proper restorations, but also the know-how that those people have. How can we manage to implement some new solutions according to their know-how? And it's not easy, but I think in Romania right now, the museums should start a new path. And this path should be together with the universities, faculties, colleges, but also those human resources. I don't know if you know, but we are the only museum in Europe who are certified, thank you, certified, to certify also the craftsmen. So right now we just finished a project in the center of Sibiu. It's an old building, House of Art. It's from 15th century, 16th century. And there we'll have classes for the old craftsmen, but also for the new craftsmen, to certify them and to certify their competencies. And then we can assure them the market. In Romania exists right now 26 open-air museums with more than 2,000 old buildings. Okay, we have practical stuff, but we need also scientific stuff, because we need to connect them. We need to unite them in order to find good and proper solutions, because as you see right now, on EU level, the culture is together with sport, with tourism. Where is the culture in EU level? And with the culture, you can educate the society. In all Europe, we have issues with the parties, with the extremism. In Germany, in France, and also in Romania. And our essential role, cultural institutions, is also to educate the society. And all this together can provide good solutions and talks. I want to thank to Andrea, to Janina, and to all our partners for this opportunity. And I'm sure after this conference we have a paperwork. And I can guarantee you, if we'll have a good proper work, and I'm sure there will be a good paperwork, I'm also the advisor of the Ministry of Culture. And then with this paperwork, I can go further. Right now we have opportunity. We have some financial instrument on national level. It's for an open-air museum, it's around 1.5 million euro, only for the restorations. But now we need to make good and the proper restorations and preservations with good materials, with proper materials, and also with materials that have the carbon footprint very low. So thank you. Andrea, when I have to talk about wood, now or later?
Yes, I would like
You are the chief.
I would like you to say 2 words. Ciprian, as I was telling you, is not only the director of our museum, he will also present you his idea regarding wood as a supply and as an asset. And afterwards we will continue with the opening, yes.
Oh, now?
Yes.
Okay. But I don't like to...
Yes, no, as you want.
Okay, good. So, my research is in the countryside in a lot of regions from Romania, but I'm focused on my region, which is in northwest part of Romania, south part of Romania, Oltenia, and also Delta of Danube. And in my research, I see that Romania has let's say, a mixed wood architecture, but unique architecture if we are talking about the oak tree. We have different type of oak tree in south part of Romania, in center part of Romania, and in northwest part of Romania, also in east part of Romania. So then I said, okay, with fir tree, you can see everywhere in Europe in the open-air museums. But oak tree is special in our country, and we have a lot of buildings in our open-air museums which are built from in oak tree. And it's important to see the technique. When they cut the oak tree, so for example, in south part of Romania, in Oltenia, they cut the oak tree starting with the months November, December, in January. Why? Because there is an old thought that you have to cut the tree in the month, which in Romania, at the end has rie. If it's rie, then you can cut the oak tree, because then the humidity is very low and you can prepare it for constructions. But what is typical for south part of Romania with this oak tree is that there are rounded beams, and then they just take out the skin and that's it. In Transylvania, we have huge oak tree, other essence of oak tree, and they work with the saw, with the sawmill, or with the axes. It's very important how to chop, how to chop it, because then if we close the fiber, then the oak tree resists 300 or 400 years old. We don't have in our museum house constructions older than, let's say, 300 years old. We have, in my opinion, just one, which is from Maramuresh, and if we compare it with another building from Sziget Museum, Open Air Museum, which is the dendrochronological date in 5067 or something like that, then we can say that we have the same one, similar here is in our museum. Why do we need to have this know-how? Because it's important for us, for me and for my team, for all the team from Astra Museum, when we'll have issues with the beams, how to restore it, how to take the wood in the proper period, how to work with that wood without using modern machines, because we have these issues also in our museum. Sometimes our restorers or the company work with the modern machines, which is not okay. We have to find these old techniques in order to respect the monument, but also to assure for the future a long-term resistance of that wood. But why is important this oak tree? Because offer you good solutions for the future. And then, of course, we need money. We need financial instruments. All these old traditions, all this know-how can be adapted, can be tested in a consortium, for example, to offer also to the company that work with the wood proper solutions to prepare a good wood for the restorations. And we don't have to talk only about the open air museums, only about the heritage. We have to talk also about the needs of the society. Right now, because of the pandemic, COVID, a lot of people, last year were around 100,000 people moved from the urban areas to the rural areas. And they bought old houses, and they want to modernize them. Okay, what solutions can we provide for them in order, to respect the green transitions, in order to have a sustainability in that village, in order to offer examples for the community that still lives there, and also to offer these solutions for the company that work with the wood. It's a lot of challenges, because right now, it's not just about the oak tree, it's about also the beams and all the other elements from the constructions. It's about the roof. The most important, let's say, enemy of the artifacts that exist in the open air museums is humidity and water. So then all the roofs have shingle roof from oak or from fir tree. And we saw that if 10 years ago a shingle roof resists 15 or 20 years, right now, after 5 or 7 years, we have to change the roof. Why? Because, first of all, the trees, the wood is not cut, it is not selected in a proper period. And second, because of the climate changes, humidity is very high, and then just destroy this kind of roof. And you can see that when we will go in the museum, you will see all these things that I mentioned. Okay, in order not to consume a lot of money, because if you work a lot, then you consume energy and so on. Which will be the solutions in the future in order to have a shingle roof to resist like it used to resist in the past for 20 years? What kind of solutions can we find for that without, have, I don't know, a huge footprint, carbon footprint to be very high? It's not just about the shingles, it's also about the fences, it's also about the objects inside, which also that one is a huge challenge for my colleagues and for us also, and for me as a manager, because the budget is limited, so I have to find good solutions to see, okay, how much money should I plant in the restorations, how much money should I plant for the cultural activities in the museum. So here we have to find the balance. But to find the balance, the most expensive is to maintain the museum. And then, for the future, I talked with Janina, with Andrea, my colleague here, Ovidiu Baron, the deputy director is over there, and we have to make an equilibrium for the future, to have 50% from our budget to be invested in the research and in examples and in testing, and 50% to be invested in the cultural events. But also, what we will invest in this part of the restorations, and I'm talking about the wood, I want to be open workshops, also for the community and for the society to understand the meaning, the purpose of the wood. How can we maintain, how can we prevent the destructions of the forestry? Right now in Romania, we are okay with the forestry. We have forest, and there are some studies that said we have only 27%, but it's not true. They didn't mention the mountains area where there are no more shepherds, and there the forest just grew. And that is what my purpose. Because, first of all, we as a cultural institutions, we have to be assumed with our heritage by the society, by the community. If they will assume the heritage like their legacy, then all our workshops will have a good future. If not, we'll have problems. Because you know what the decisional maker says. I'm lucky because I work also with the decisional makers, but I'm also a specialist in a museum. They will say why. We'll say, okay, too much money in the heritage. Too much money. But when the society will assume the heritage and they will be involved, will be another pressure on the decisional makers, because they need what? They need to be voted. So then we have to be also very diplomatic in this field. But we cannot find good solutions without you. Because we have our know-how, we have our skills, we know, when I see a wood, I know from which region is, how it can be worked in a different ethnographical region, how can you make it to be available for the restorations. But society, they don't know. The community, they won't know. Okay, what kind of solutions should I find in order to have, for the next 25 years, storage for a good wood, cut it in a proper period? That is also a challenge. How to maintain this wood, how to assure the climate, and so on. But all the skills from the past, all the know-how that are documented by us, by the curators, by the conservators, can be solutions, but just partial solutions, because we need also the other expertise of the universities, of the laboratories, and so on, to see, okay, we have to go in that directions. And try to manage that this paperwork can be like a manual, can be like a manual for all the open-air museum, and also then for the authorities. We don't have right now in Romania, you know, an inventory of the wooden architecture. We don't have it. We have it, okay, we know what we have in the open-air museum, we have something in the counties. Yes, we know that we have some wooden churches, but that's it. But what about the other historical buildings built in wood? Which will be the future of those buildings? If we will manage to offer solutions, sustainable solutions, efficient solutions to the authorities, then maybe those buildings will have a future. If not, we will lose them, and all of us will be guilty. I know what I'm talking. Really, I'm not a diplomatic, because we have to let diplomacy outside right now, and we have to put the fingerprints on the future strategy when we talk about the wood, when we talk about the heritage, and about the restorations of the heritage, and how the heritage can be a path for a sustainable development. Because I'm very afraid. Last mandate, for example, we had a commission where it was only culture, I think, and tourism, and so on. Now, where we have a commission on culture, the new commissar, you know, has culture, sport, tourism, youth, and everything. That should be a huge question for all of us, and how can we manage in the future to make them understand that, okay, it's culture, educate society on all the level. And we have to start with what? With wood. Because it was the first element in our history, in all the history in the world, for constructions and for surviving, first of all. Yeah. So, I'm sorry I cannot stay too much with you, but maybe today I will manage to go with you in the museum when we'll have at 3 o'clock, okay, to be in the museum to explain better in front of a monument why it's important that wood should be on another level, but in a proper directions when we talk about the exploitations, but also as a living space and so on. Thank you so much, and I wish you pleasant days here, and I hope that paperwork, and I'm sure that paperwork that will be, I understand correctly, we will have a paperwork, yes?
They will have a working session, yes.
Working sessions, that's very good.
At the end of the project, a white policy.
Good.
A white paper for policymakers.
Good. I can promise you.
One of the deliverables.
I can promise you that I will do my best that this paperwork to be in the Ministry of Culture, on the national associations of the county councils, and also in the Romanian Museum Network. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm happy that the mixture and the various directions of interests towards the wood and the wood heritage are here now in good meeting and care. Now I would continue with the opening, and I would like to introduce you, but not because you don't know her, but because it's a dear co-organizer of many years of us, Elena Badia. She is a specialist and also researcher. She has more affiliation, but today here is her affiliation is with the University of Craiova, due to the fact that you are now together here as a cost action. And I will let her explain you more about this meeting and the next invited guests. Please.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Hello, everybody. So my name is Elena. Everybody can call me Elena, simply Elena. I'm here as a local organizer of the cost action concerning the network of forestry sub-products, because it's also about the sub-products of the forest, which also belong to our tradition, to our history, and we would like that these sub-products could, in a sustainable way, transform our future. So I have these two qualities, local organizer and the co-organizer of the Ethic Conference, which is at the 8th edition. And I am very grateful to Andrea, to our host, Astra National Museum, for their collaboration and for taking this decision to organize a session with a topic in close relation with the Cost Action Network. So it is clear that this tandem event, this session on conservation and restoration of wooden artifacts, and the working group of the Cost Action, which will be focused on this white paper for policy makers and to a database of all these products at the European level. So I'm very sure that these 2 days will be very exciting and will produce quite interesting results, innovative ideas, and will also lead to new collaboration and partnership. I am also sure that this will be quite, how to say, nice moment, because this is the best place maybe for organizing an event an event concerning forests. We are in the middle of a primary forest, Dumbrava Sibiului, and as the director said before, in the biggest museum, open-air museum in Europe, with the hundreds monuments and also century-old trees. I am also sure that forest and wood in general and forest sub-products, tangibly and intangibly, they generally features almost all aspects of our society, from our language, thinking, culture, religion, and even the structure of the society itself. And as Astra Museum is a place where culture is for living, and you will have the opportunity to explore this this, how to say, commitment of the museum during the study visit in this second part of the day. I have no doubt that this unique setting, place, and events will catalyze our activities and will pave the way for new ideas and collaboration. So I would like now to introduce you the chair of this network, which is Professor Magdalena Zborowska from Poznan Life Science University. She will introduce better the aim of this network in few words. Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you. Welcome to everyone. It's a big pleasure to be here and have possibility to spend time together. At the beginning, I would like to thank organizers, General Director for invitation, of course. After your presentation, I see that we have a lot of scope and a lot of points for collaborations. This is very, very promising for me. Especially that we have in our action a lot of wood chemists and people who work with wood, not only tar, potash, and pitch. And of course, thank you very much for invitation, Andrea, because I know that it's really big work to organize this kind of meetings. And thank you very much, Elena, because in fact, for my point of view, this is your initiations, yes? So in fact, you initiate this idea, and I think that this is very, very positive that our members of our cost action can do this, can organize these meetings, because these meetings are very, very important for us. And let me show you in a brief, short presentation about our cost action. This presentation was prepared by Żaneta Ucejko, Vice Chair of our action, and by myself. Just a moment. Okay. So, it works, sorry? Okay. So our entire title of our network, this is Network for Forest Byproducts, Charcoal, Resin, Tar, and Potash. Acronym of this action is EU Potash, and number of our action, this is CA 22155. This is very important when you will try to find information about this action at eCost website. And according to this title, in the range of our scope, we have 4 products, tar, pitch, resin, and potash, but also, for example, tannins. And in the range of our actions, we have more than 200 members, and from different countries, from Europe and beyond. We have 190 members from European countries. We have big team from Turkey. We have also members from Africa, Asia, and America. And here you can see in red, we have countries, inclusiveness target countries. This is a very important position in cost association because, okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. So because we, as a cost action, we should work according cost inclusiveness policy. It means that we should focus on inclusiveness target countries, that we should maintain gender balance, and that we should improve young researchers. And therefore, on this slide, you can read in numbers members from ITC countries, females, and young researchers. So these are very important parameters if we want to obtain new budget for new grant period. Therefore, I have to, and I think, mentioned this because we, according these numbers, results that we work according these rules. Our members are divided into 5 working groups: heritage, analytical characterization, archaeology, environmental history, and future perspectives. And all these groups work with our potash products, materials. It means with potash, tar, pitch, resin, and of course tannins, and extractives also. In this column you can see a number of members. Working group number 5. Future Perspective is the biggest, and the leader of this group is Elena. So this is the most interesting for our members. Of course, our working groups collaborate very close, and this meeting is in fact confirmation that we collaborate, because this meeting is organized for 4 working groups, 1, 2, 4, and 5. And during this meeting, we are going to work with our deliverables, which are common for these working groups. In this table, you can see our different activities which we have in the range of our action. These activities are divided into organization, training and career development, knowledge sharing, dissemination and communication, activity of working groups. And during this meeting in ASTRA Museum, we are going to work with different activities. Elena mentioned about database, EU potash product and technologies, and white paper for policymakers. But I hope that during this meeting, we will have also possibility to discuss about future STSMs, short-term scientific missions, that we will have also time for discussion about new training schools, working group meetings, and conferences and workshops in the range of our working groups. But of course, the most important are database and white paper. And the leader of this deliverable is working group number 2 with leader Janet Wucejko. And white paper, leader of working group number 5, because the leader of this deliverable is working group number 5, is Elena Bada. I would like to remind you that in the range of cost action, we try to support different activities of our members. And please remember that we can organize STSMs, short-term scientific missions. This is institutional visits aimed to supporting individual mobility, fostering collaboration between individuals. We can also organize virtual mobility. It is financial support to exchange knowledge, learn new techniques with cost action in virtual settings. Inclusive Target Countries Conference. This is financial support for young researchers and PhD students from ITC to attend in international conferences that are not organized by cost action. And we can also support dissemination conference. This is an activity for people who want to participate at high-profile conferences, not organized by the COS Association. And finally, we can also organize training schools. This is financial support to a training school organized and funded by the Cost Action. And I would like to show you that 1 week ago we organized the first training school at Poznań. Poznań University of Life Sciences was the local organizer of this event. And we have one trainer. Jeanette Wucejko was a trainer during this training school, and Eri was a trainee. So I think that this is a really good meeting, and thanks to this meeting we have possibility to work with our deliverables, yes, and 12 trainees participate in this training school, and I hope that it was for them fruitful. In the range of this meeting in Astra Museum, we are going to organize today finally one meeting, probably, yes, but because yes, joint one. Probably we will announce this information during lunch time. Probably we will join these 2 meetings and we meet together, all working groups. We will work together. And after this first session at 3 p.m., we will visit this museum. Probably, yes. I'm not organizer, but I heard something. And tomorrow we will meet also again, and all sessions are joint, yes, so we will work together, and these sessions are dedicated for database of Europochat products and technologies, and second for white paper for policymakers. And finally, we will conclude this meeting. Thank you very much, and we can start collaborate. We can start networking. Thank you. Okay.
So thank you very much. It is an honor and a pleasure to have you all here, and also to somehow sneak around the working of these projects, which we sometimes don't have the chance to meet so closely as you are presenting us to them. So now we are going further, and I would like you to present my colleague, the director of this Center of Conservation and Restoration. Her name is Alina Gianina Ionescu, and she will be presenting to you the restoration of the collapsed artistic components of the wooden church in Surduc, Cluj. But you have already seen that in our lobby there is stored, prepared for a further restoration, which is a special moment because otherwise we couldn't have been able to present it to you in such a practical way. As my colleague here, I want you to see her and to know that she will be guiding us in the lobby and presenting there on facts and on real object the project and the problems of this part of the monument. So this is also the moment when after we will have the coffee break, and we will meet back in here after that. So thank you very much, and please follow Janina for her explanations about the church that we have here. Yes, please.
So welcome back. I would like to invite now Cristina Dăneasa with her presentation Notes from Journey of Evangelic Church Ceiling from village of Vulcan, Mureș County. You have 10 minutes. Okay. And I will.
I can do it.
Yes. Hello. I want to present you an action made in two periods, one in 2018 and one in last year. So we can start, and we were two coordinators, Mihai Ferry and me, on this action. Oh, okay. So the ceiling comes from Vulcan, Mureș County, in 1996, was demounted and stored at Christian in the gallery of this church. One was demounted, no restorer was there, so they come with the ceiling and they put it in that gallery how they know in that moment. But the church is an old church from 16th century. We study a bit the church, but I don't have time for this. But the tower is from 1528, and the church is finished in 1802. In that moment, the ceiling was on under the roof, painted and mounted. We have here many pictures of this ceiling. We have also a black and white picture, and we can observe the degradation, the photochemical degradation of the ceiling. This picture is from before the demounted of the ceiling. The oldest part from 1682, and we have another part from 70. We don't know exactly it's 7010 or 7019. We don't know exactly. And the team was big, a lot of students. We are so grateful for this, and we start one day in 2018 with few of them that in white, and after that another one are from 2023 last year, when we have a big team and more coordinators, and we make a big effort to consolidate all the ceiling, that it's 70 square meter. So in the first period, the ceiling was stored like this, and we start to with the inventory, with the range, and this the humidity was high in the wood in that moment, like from 28% to 34%. But we don't have a lot of problem. Few insect attack, Anobium punctatum, because the ceiling was protected by arsenic, because in all surface we find arsenic sulfur, because they paint in that moment with auripigment. This was disappear from our view. We can't see the yellow or the green, but when we consolidate with fish glue, we see the green. So in that moment, we put all the planks in the nave of Christian church to see how big it is to put together all the planks, to reassemble the cassettes, and we do this. We use all the church, And here we discover the first date on this part with the inscription, and we photo all the cassettes. We dedust only the back of the planks because the painting layers were a bit fragile, and we didn't made it. And only we dedust, and after that we stored in the proper way all the ceiling. And this was the first step. And after that, we made a lot of analysis to see what is there, to see what to do, because the purpose was to move the ceiling back to the volcano. And from that moment, we start to study what can do. So we made the investigation for the wood. It's Abies alba, it's fir. We made a lot of photo to see better the draw. And after that, we analyze the primer. It's with gypsum, and we find also carbonate, calcium carbonate. And we make the X-ray and another analysis, and we find that arsenic base and was all over. In all samples, arsenic was present. So that is the reason the anobium punctatum doesn't eat all the, the ceiling, because high humidity was a long time, from 1996 to 2018. This period, the ceiling was wet in that gallery. So we have some degradation of the wood, not so big, and the ceiling is enough strong to resist without consolidation of the wood. So we didn't make this, and we don't agree to do it. So in this case, the paint had problem. The dust and the dirt is a big problem, because we didn't consolidate this, because it's a long operation to dedust everything. And some paint was cracked or lost, but not so much, and the draw especially, because it was a thicker layer. And after that, last year, we start to do this, because they want to put it back the ceiling. So in that moment, me and Mihai Ferry, we conclude that it's not okay to go back to give them back the ceiling without consolidation of the paint. But we made not a consolidation like to restore, like this church, but we made a consolidation of the paint to resist long time, and that's it. No another intervention. So we start dedusting the whole surface. We keep the planks together with the cassettes. And after that, we propose two kinds of consolidation way. And one of them was with Japanese paper and tissue paper, and to press a bit, and after that to remove the Japanese paper. This takes a lot of time, and we had only 3 days for this with the team. So in this case, Mihai Ferry comes with another proposal to use fish glue, and in this fish glue we put a bit of water with alcohol. In this case, the penetration was better, was good, and no glue remains on the surface. So we used this method, and was faster. And what was nice, we can see also the green and the yellow and the colors during this process. So we consolidate the paint, and after that we made a lot of picture to have this step, because it's one time in your life you can do this, because after that will be up, nobody will do. So we saw draws, because you can see when it's dry. So it was wonderful to see all the flowers and all the colors one time. And we only in the picture we can see now. And after that we made the photos, I told you, and we analyze more in UV light, and we find this part from the nave where we find the second date from the 18th century in the base. So it was like this in that gallery, because we work there in the church, in the gallery. Both time we work in May. It was a bit cold in the church. And we put all the planks like this, and after that look like this, because we didn't have enough space. And after that, Mihai Ferry comes with a proposal to prepare for storage and for transport all the planks. And we put this wood part with foil, because we didn't want to come the dust again and to work again. And we don't know when the ceiling will be put it back, but now it's at Vulcan, so it's back home. The ceiling is there, and we expect to see it up. In the end, looks like this, all the planks, and we find also more than first time. We find from the gallery, parts from the gallery from Vulcan, painted also, and part from organ. And was interesting to see there what is a lot of the old patrimony. And thank you. And if you have some question about this.
Thank you very much, Christina. Our next speaker will be Sebastian Berg. Oh, Bet. Sorry. He will present historical roof and wood structure in Transylvanian fortified churches.
And dzień dobry. Here is it. Some Polish here. My wife is Polish, so I know. I will make a little bit faster, because the presentation probably it's for 20 or a half hour. So, sorry. Okay. Sorry. So, my thema is historical roofs and wood structure in Transylvania. I working for the Fortified Church Foundation, who was founded from the Evangelic Church in 2016 to support the local Saxon communities. And it's a scientific, professional, small foundation. And I'm also the chairman of the Casa Appold Association, who occupied with the Fortified Church in Appold. And as you see on the picture, my work, it's quite different. I'm an original carpenter and a masoner from profession, and I'm working as a monument conservator. So I like to understand structures, understand buildings, and exchange it, of course, with other people who also are idealism in this field, and giving further by summer schools, by courses and expertises. Probably the most famous pictures for fortified churches in our region, it's this in Viskry. It's UNESCO World Heritage. Prince Charles was there many times, has a house in the village. And so it's a magnet for, of course, for tourists and for for researchers. But we have also a huge quantity of fortified churches who are a little bit on the second line, small one and not so famous, and as you see, in a bad shape. So this is a fortified church of Pelishore. And also Vallevilloa, it's a UNESCO World Heritage. It's not yet so developed. This is a very nice example how the local community of Sachsen can, with limited resources and space, make something from the church, so for fortification, for defending. As you know, okay, we are in Transylvania, and the region with fortified churches is more in this corner here, where the Carpathian Mountain is. And from the point of view in the medieval age, this is a kingdom of Hungary, and there you see that it's actually on the end of the kingdom. So the lightly blue ones are the Saxon settlements, and this green one, it's this from Hungarian or secular settlements, who also built up few fortified churches. Roughly everywhere where our points are fortified churches, and the red ones are there where it's actually not the church not anymore in use regularly. So there are maybe once per year if a church service, but it's not a community anymore who maintain or to care as it was before. So you see a lot of red points, and it will be more, probably. Just some numbers for overview. So the Saxon, coming in the 12th century, was called by the Hungarian king to developing Transylvania, to pay taxes, to defending the kingdom, and there are most of them are citizens from the Hungarian kingdom. So there are 2/3 was free people like craftsmen, farmers, and merchandise, and there and 1/3 was like under how it's called under a noble family, mostly Hungarian noble family, so not free. In this, we're talking now by the fortified churches about the Saxon who was free, who had the right to build up fortified churches. The population from the Saxon rise up, of course, in the Middle Age, but dropped down in the last 20, 30 years because of the emigration in the 20th century to West. We have in total 266 villages with evangelic, former Catholic churches, and from them we have 164 fortified churches who call it like this. 7 are UNESCO, all are protected by heritage law, national, and additional to these fortified churches we have also parish house, schools, preacher houses who are sold or are already giving to private, and also part of the Saxon cultural heritage. Historical roof structure. It's a not so popular and not so famous research part. I know that exist two, at the moment in this level, two groups or departments. One we have also here, Bota Istvan from Dendrolab, and together with Robin Gulbrandsson from Sweden, we make also some researching by visiting the churches and finding out how the roof structure is and make pictures from them. For the historical roof structure, we have a very huge variety here. Basically, it's everything preserved. So for every period, we have some roofs preserved. Just the early ones from the 13th century, there we have actually now roof structure left. Elements, yes. Sebish, it's one of the oldest, I think, and Sibiu. So we have three major time periods with the roof structure. This is like the second actually part, but it's still from the Romanesque Basilica, the roof structure from the from the 13th century to the mid 14th century. It's like a rafter roofs. Then we have the goat roof structure. It's it's like after 1450 to 16th century, quite late, even if it's Gothic. And then we have, of course, the roof structure, the Baroque period in the 17th, 18th century. All this, it's not, that means every roof has exactly this determination. What we have here, it's often a mixture of everything. So the Saxon had limited resources, limited time, because the fortified church has to be maintained for defending. So they're putting some systems together, modifying, reusing wood. So it's a challenge. It's very nice, but also difficult to find out how it was built up before, or what elements are original, what are reused. There, it's of course, and the dendrochronological analysis is very important. At the moment, we make not the best research approach how it should be, because we have now actually time for it. This is pity, because the priority is to saving the churches as an emergency measure, because we have so much problems. I will show you also some picture later with the fortified churches, because when you don't have nobody who maintain it, then it's probably is a question of time when it's falling apart. So the priority of the Evangelic Church, who is the owner, it's not to make long researching, sondern just to preserving it as fast as possible for maybe a short time and then again. So what we do is at least using this time what we have for visual research, I will call it. So of course we make this research in the archive and library. On the place we checking, of course, it's a what material was used: pine wood, oak. It's a historical value, high value roof. Of course, it's from 18th century or from 13th century. We checking the woodworking methods, how the beam was prepared. So on the pictures you see, it's like with an axe, cut it, or with a saw, or with a chisel. It's very different, and then you can already determining things, how in which time it was built up. Of course, the structure himself, what kind of roof it is, the types of the joints, the building process, and of course, very important is the inscription and the joinery marks, or the carpenter marks, who have actually every beam. And from this, you can really find out and limited the time of construction. For example, in Hosman we have a nice fortified church. The fortified church tower, the west tower, the church tower. There we have in 3 layers roof structure from 18th century. Also very nice with the inscription here and with the carpenter marks. And yeah, here are the joinery or the carpenter marks used in this time. This is this kind of with a chisel made it. It also used in West Germany, West Europe. In Torkla, it's just actually a small church, but a Romanic basilica, and there we have a very nice roof. Still a little bit more to discover. It has, from the first point of view, a little bit Romanic style, but we found also an inscription here from 17th century, maybe also reused material, but it's offshore, medieval and Gothic. And this is maybe difficult the Saxon used the methods, what they start like in one time, like in the 13th century. These methods are used quite long. So when we're talking, for example, for a Gothic roof, It can be that they're building a Gothic roof in the 16th century or the 17th century. So they're keeping the tradition quite long because it was isolated. Of course, after some time, they're changing also. Yeah, also in Torkla, this is some very inscription, and of course the methods of building here. This is very interesting. We don't know exactly why it's too long. Maybe the carpenter didn't measure good, but we don't know. So these are very few elements where to find out, okay, how was built up. Here, this is a truss, a wall plate. This is a tie beam, and here are some marks. So this beam was used as a schablon for other beams. Rikisch has quite old, I would say, it was from the second half of the 14th century, roof over the core, altar. And here we have also burning parts. So you have to relating this to the history of the village. There was a fire in the 15th century. Maybe it's from there, maybe not. But so you have to always the findings in the roof relating to the documents what you have from this village and from the church. We have defending platforms. So when a fortified church, so how we calling fortified churches, it's actually you reconstruct, or not reconstruct, but you modificating the church himself. Then we calling it fortified church, if you see it very narrow. So, and most of the old roofs before the period was of course destroyed by this. So, because when you over the church or the tower, but mostly over the church, when you're building up a kind of new level, so you destroy the roof, or you reuse the roof. Sometimes it's happened that they're taking off the roof, building up the level, and they put this old roof just back. It's also possible. And the defending platforms, this is shooting windows here. Of course, yeah, it's like starting in the middle of 15th century for defending against the Ottoman Empire. And this was probably the first element, one of the first one for this fortification. Maybe it was already a small wall around the church, but the first thing was often just that they're modifying the church, and then they're building up towers and again a wall, a ring wall. And of course, from the wooden elements, you have also this, by the defending platform, this, I don't know how it's called in English, but this console, wooden console with some ornaments and the boards from outside. The marks I mentioned already. Then you have here in the middle, also in the towers, or are you finding like in small departments, structure, the floor structure with wooden nails, what it's very seldom. And of course, a roof without heights, it's not a roof. There it's also a lack of research when they start to using ceramic tiles. Did they use before wooden or the shingles? There exists also less researching in this part. Some elements from wood, because we're talking about wood. So what you can find in the fortified church, but it's also from medieval origin, are the trees here, trunks for stairs, for the tower, and also some few boards who could be also from 15th or 16th century. We finding doors, also very seldom in Western Europe actually also, but here doors from medieval time, 15th century, maybe older. Here it's even with an inscription from 1610. So all because the Saxon community was very isolated and living among each other. Even between the Saxon villages was not so much exchanged like we're thinking. Sometimes to the town, yes, but not so intensively. I skip this. Windows, of course. We have here also the windows as elements. And the sailing we had from Christina already. This is the sailing from Vulcan. This is from Valealunga. We have the galleries in mostly all churches, sometimes preserved well, sometimes not so good. In Beja, you will see later a picture, it's not in a good shape. This is a gallery, also Michael Ferens, who was mentioned. We worked together here to we discover in the gallery in Uphold, behind the paintings or the tableaux from 18th century, old altar pieces from Catholic time, and also boards with scratches after some ornament, some systematic. And this method was used. I think Istvan Butter can tell more because he make also analysis. Was used around 1500, latest 1500, first half of 16th century. What you also find in the wooden elements in the fortified churches are the first benches. So it was also in this time 1500, because in the Catholic time there was no benches for the people, just maybe something nearby the altar for the priest. But with the Reformation coming, then also this tradition with benches. And the first form from benches was like just from the tree, cut it out the place. And here we have altar benches, or like for the older people, for the honorable people. This is in Sigishora. This is from a carpenter Reichmuth, who is famous for his work around 1500. Altar pieces, we have 20 or more of this wings altar preserved. Mostly was taken from the village to the towns to keep them safe. We have baptism from wood or stone, tables, chest. I saw here also a few. In Breden, for example, it's a huge collection of chests from 15th, 16th century. And then we coming to the problems, what we have. And as I mentioned, we have a lot of churches, but we have actually not anymore the population who build it up in a kind of way and maintain it. Until 89, we have actually no people around who take care of it. Few initiatives started. So this is the main problem, that we have no maintenance system. We have, of course, it's a decay over the time. The churches was not restored since 50 years. Of course, then it's clear that it's vandalism and robbery. And a little bit provocative, what it's also observed in the last years, it's exist EU fundings or other fundings who going more in the direction to renovating than to conservating. And then besides that, it's lost a lot of data what we can use, but also the character of the building, of course, it's then lost. And we have a lack of trained craftsmen in a traditional crafts field, carpenters, masonry, who knows first their crafts, but also for the monument. They have to also know the crafts. So there it's missing a part. And of course, and maybe this is interesting here, to find good, especially in the carpentry part, good wood, oak wood, because most roofs and most wooden structure was built up with oak, and you cannot use fresh oak. You have to have some special quantity of oak, and you not find it. You have to use second-hand or old wood on the market. What it's maybe not always the best solution. It's a little bit maybe shocking, but few churches are already decay. This is since 20 years, the situation like this. This is 2016, I think, falling apart in Radisch. It's provisoric. This stays like this at the moment. This is preserved with a roof, protected at least. And this is Bayer, who was last year falling apart from the church. Yeah, some images from churches who are actually open and everybody can go in. We have, of course, when it's open, animals goes inside. This is a threat for every wood work inside. And I would say, of course, when you have this kind of challenging or problems, you can also try to find an opportunity in this. So the first thing is, of course, it never stops documenting, investigating, researching. It's a main thing. Now, in these days, digitalization coming more and more a very important issue, and you can preserve, at least virtual, maybe when a church falling apart, like for example this one, and you have to rebuild maybe because some initiative starts, and you have before scanned this building, then it's much easier. And of course, what we also do is some churches are not visited at all because are small, maybe high value, but nobody knows. Just if I or with my colleagues we appear in this village, it makes already a little bit people thinking, okay, what they're doing there. Talking with the mayor, it's important just to mention that this is important to maintain the building, even if it's not immediately get a result, but somehow to interact with the local community. Of course, at the moment we are by safeguarding emergency measure, and of course some churches we restore, but it's in the huge quantity very difficult. And of course, further education in architecture, conservation and crafts is very important. To not have so much pessimism in all this, so some good things happened also. So in Philitechnic, it's Arcus Association, restorator, architects took over the church, and the church was in this state, I think 10 years ago or more, and they managed to at least to make protection in the roof, and inside also they start now to saving. Very known is this Associatia Monumentum. They have this Ambulanza pentru Monumente. They make a huge work with volunteers and with craftsmen, and taking also the community into it. Not just by fortified churches, but also for wooden churches, for all kind of monuments. And it's over Romania. Now there are many for every region, a different ambulanza. Where I am is in Uphold, we make every year crafts courses in traditional crafts technique, and also to find a little bit interdisciplinary summer schools, so different crafts topics to put together in the same summer school, inviting restorator, architects, craftsmen, interacting and researching, of course. So 2 years ago we had an Uphold Heritage Lab, so we measuring, we had the restaurators who conserving these frescoes in the church, stone restorator, so the people could see how everything working and exchange. Further education, this is I like it very much, and it's needed. So this is also now in Uphold. We have craft schools, and to preserving historical roofs, you need to know how to preserving the traditional crafts. If you have no people who have this knowledge, then you can try to preserving it, but it's missing this link. Yeah, so we have hands-on conservation in Uphold, and for young people or for craftsmen. And this is the last picture. the tradition of crafts, because I'm a craftsman, it's very important, and in Germany or in the Middle Age, coming use that you go on the travel for some years and you learning, just absorbing information and knowledge, and partly it's arrived also in Romania. This tradition, it's in Germany still ongoing, not very much popular, but it's still, and this is our local priest in the middle, so you don't see it, but the journeymans had fun, and so this was my presentation.
Thank you, Sebastian. If you have question, just ask, or otherwise you can put question after that. Our next speaker will be Andrea Bernat, our host. She will present something from inside, challenging of wood heritage care in Astra Open Air Museum. Andrea, please.
Thank you very much. Usually I don't have the time to present anything at the conferences we organize because I'm too busy with organizing. But this time I chose differently because I not only take the opportunity to present my colleagues' main job that you afterwards you will be seeing on site when making the guided tour with my colleagues, but also because I want to raise at each photo your imagination and your ideas towards how we can deal better with the problems that challenges of wood heritage care in the open air museum, in any open air museum, can be dealt with. And before I start, I would like to present the team that is formed with Claudia. I want her to make her wave, because Claudia is one of the most experienced open air person here in caring and conservation, preventive conservation. And then I have another colleague, Ilinka, please, because otherwise I'm asking you to come in front here. And also the newest, but also with experience in various conservation aspects, my colleague Cătălin. And this is the team who should investigate on and detecting the degradation of wood in the open air museum. So basically it's a big job because there are 96 hectares of museum, and there are over 200 buildings. And you will be walking like 9 kilometers lane with my colleagues. And this space is all full of interesting monuments and inviting assets, which we can, as you see, we divided it so that I can show you that a big part is in the storages, but a big part also is in the open air museum. And among this part of, I don't know which is the pointer, but I will find it out. The idea is that wood is one of the main material support of our collection, and that is our main interest this day here. Obviously, in the open air museum, you cannot use your zone of enclosure as zones of control. So you might imagine that all the problems that come from outside and also in the monuments are more powerful, and also they cannot be sheltered as well as in storages or in classical exhibitions. So even here you can notice, or I can tell you shortly, that the out temperature and relative humidity is almost like inside, even if we are inside the monument. And among the most important risks that we have and that we find out during an analysis, a risk analysis, were the pests, trees that are falling on the monuments, but also, of course, the fire scenario is one still problematic, and water, of course, and I will just show you that it's pretty difficult to work on these levels of control in case of open-air museums. So basically, we have to adapt, we have to accept, and we have to monitor among agents of deteriorations that cannot be stopped. So living in the forest, it's a huge challenge because sometimes the trees in the forest can fall, and the probability of falling on a monument is like one tree once upon 20 years. So that is statistics. Another physical aspect of deterioration is when the objects are differently, I don't know, no, the pointer, yes. When they are exhibited in a way that usually indoors doesn't happen, and the tension in the materials cause breakage, or other things like this when our objects are deteriorated. Here there is a construction, a wood construction, that during maintenance has fallen. I will go fast because I have very many problems to show to you, but I don't make, I want, yes, I was saying that our museum is a living museum. That is why the probability to have fire is quite high, even if in the history of museum, luckily we didn't encounter any consistent problem. However, we know that fire, not like other types of degradation, it has to be just one in a lifetime, in one's lifetime, and it can be catastrophic. Now, the example of burned wood are from the time of when the objects were used, so they are not from the degradation that would happen in the museum. But just to see another situation here that is very frequent, the biodegradation, which happens all the time, each season, so it's a big problem to avoid it. Of course, the finest, but also the most mechanical ways are implemented. And of course, you might guess that biodegradation is one of the most problems that we have. So fungi, you will find a lot, but not only mold and other insects, wood borers, a lot of them. So please, if you have in mind the next research upon preservation solutions, we are open to try all means, even those that are new and we want to test them. The biological activity doesn't stop at the level of insects. We have birds, and that is a nest, but also other animals. Unfortunately, we need to deal with a lot of animals. And this is a chart I made with all the problems, and you can see many of our cells are not filled with solutions for each level of control. And yes, this is to be considered further. Light, of course, you can expect that we cannot block the light if we are in an open-air museum. Some of the objects are exhibited in the outdoor, and some are only replicas, but also replicas go to be deteriorated, and then we have to change them. You know, the color is also changing due to light effect, and cracks and tensions in the materials, also in component materials, where the tension due to fluctuation of humidity and temperature is a problem that sometimes goes until crackers. And but these are just a few objects. This is a basket that is the interior made of clay and some vegetables, and the dehydration goes until this is detached and the cohesion is no more assured. Of course, it has been already mentioned as an agent of deterioration. Humans are sometimes the most cruel of all. And you can see the damages that various visitors, maybe some of them just wanting to be closer to heritage, but also the ones who are making different marks on the objects so that they mark their presence or their passing there. Water is, of course, being outdoors, one of the most problematic. We are also on a ground that is, you will see, near the lake, and is already full of water, but when it's a lot of rain, it can come out. And you will be seeing on your tour that some objectives are sustained over the water, and of course the damage at the point where the air and the water is touching the wood is the most vulnerable. And I won't insist too much. Some of these you will recognize during the guided tour, but of course all the seasonal and climate influences, you can see it and you can follow them, and if it's not maintained sufficiently, and please take into consideration that these houses are not in the way they were when they were living, families were living there, so even if we are here to maintain them, sometimes it's quite difficult. About the agents of pollution, it is difficult to say that we are luckily in a good environment, but ozone is still here with us. We made some measurements during various projects. Here is one that we made with Elena Badia at some point, but still, if you are interested, this is a problematic that we are still searching to study and analyze about the conditions that are outside, the way they impact the heritage, and the way they can be interfering with inside climate and microclimates. So we made some measurements for different agents, but luckily we are for the inside, for the storages, but we were comparing them to outside conditions. And now, as one of the most different type of problem that we are facing, it's not related so much about the material as a support, but about the information that they gather, because sometimes objects are very similar, sometimes their information and their number is not relevant or was lost, and we don't know exactly what object, what number is. So we need to figure out for 200 houses and 96 hectares which object, which number. So thank you very much for attention. I am thanking my colleagues for their hard job that they are doing each day. And I invite you afterwards or these days, if you have any suggestions or if you want to propose solutions, we are open to hear them. Thank you very much.
And now, Daria Üstemer I don't know if it is correct, okay, will present investigation of wood samples used in traditional wooden house, perspectives from material science. Please.
Hello everyone, my name is Derya Sömer. I'm a forest industry engineer. Today I will present our studies, investigation of wood samples used in traditional wooden house, perspectives from material science. As we know, wood is a very unique material, especially natural, very new material. That is why all of us is prefer choose structural applications. Science offers exceptional mechanical properties, especially for our research. Moreover, it is a visual appeal is wood. Especially it is important for restoration, conservation, of course. Over recent years, there has been important increase in the use of wood and especially wood-based composite for many applications of residential and non-residential building construction. Wooden houses in the past, like just brief, wooden buildings have been used since prehistoric times, of course, particularly in forested areas. It has been utilized by a variety of cultures as a fundamental component of construction. A prominent position is held by wooden houses like this in Turkish in the past and in the present, especially in both urban and rural locations. Wooden buildings were common during the Ottoman era. This type of construction is commonly found in the Black Sea region in Turkey and showcases the long-standing use of timber building techniques. Timber frame structures were used for their flexibility and harmony with other natural structure materials. I will give some brief in traditional wooden houses. Various tests are conducted to assess the condition of the structure and the properties of wood materials used. As we know, tests solve any possible problems of decay, damage, or deterioration, and this test helps that the restoration protection procedure preserves the historical and structural integrity of classic wooden houses. What kind of tests we are carrying? Especially at first, an anatomical measurements is very important to identification of wood spaces. Especially microscopic analysis is used to determine the spaces of wood used this kind of construction. Mechanical test is very important, especially for us, for our research. Moisture content is very important also. Resistograph testing, this test is very important to measure the internal condition of the wood samples, especially to evaluate decay and structural changes. Another important parameter for us, color measurement. Color measurement, of course, important is this measurement is used to determine the color change in the wood using. We are using spectrophotometry or colorimetry. And another test for decay and fungi analysis. Another test also, chemical analysis is very important, tannins, resins, and preservatives. These analyses in wood spaces are carried out to determine the presence of natural compounds like tannin or resin in the wood. These compounds also can be applied as preservatives, as we know, in the past and now present in wood conservation process. Another also important considerable test to determine the deterioration. This method, non-destructive testing, these methods such as ultrasound or another thermography tests are used to evaluate the internal condition of the wood space. From an engineering perspective, we can look the use of, especially we investigated in this study chestnut wood in Turkey. The use of chestnut wood in buildings has significant advantages properties. Why we choose natural durability, density and strength, structural properties, sustainability, resistant to corrosion and humidity. As we know, corrosion, humidity is very important because chestnut wood has good resistance in salt and humid environments. This wood is flexible material, has high mechanical strength and density, and has a high tannin content. Throughout history, many ways have been employed to preserve wooden structure. Of course, we know from the harmful impacts, especially impacts of the outdoors, such as weather, decay, insects, and rotting. Some traditional ways used to preserve wooden in construction in past: resin and natural oils, charcoal and burned wood. This is another way. Tannins from tree bark and plants. These tannins also are natural preservatives obtained tree barks and plants. In our study, we carried out some studies. In this study, wood samples were taken from over 100 years old traditional house. This place in Turkey, in Trabzon. Trabzon is my city, located in the northeastern part of Turkey, along the coast of Black Sea. That is why this kind of building must be strong to humidity and salt, the other conditions. Firstly, we carried out anatomical measurements were carried out for identification which kind of wood used in this building. Another experiment carried out degradation assessment. And our objective in this study investigated chestnut wood samples taken from 100 years old traditional wooden to compare them with recent chestnut samples to provide an engineering perspective on protective treatments and alternative application for the long-term durability in traditional structure. You can see here all wood samples. This is a door, outdoor from this traditional timber frame house. Firstly, I want to give some brief. Some biological degradation observed in this chestnut wood. Color change is the important problems, and structural decay, breadlines and fiber separation, surface deterioration, and holes. You can see from image. Termites, wood-boring insects, especially the small holes visible in this wood, this kind of wood. Resistograph test. This wood deterioration and internal structure are assessed. This test. It monitors needle resistance as it drills into the wood, revealing it is last condition. This test detecting decay and deterioration. Low resistance indicates deterioration or structural weakness in wood samples. Another parameter is density change. This test measures density change. Different densities provide to understand how to change how difference between solid and decaying wood. This measurement, of course, is very important, very considerable to evaluate degradation rate. Degradation is very important parameters, especially in historical wooden structure. This test helps plan restoration, conservation, and maintenance by revealing the wood structure, endurance, integrity. Color change is another parameters in our test. Color change for wood can occur due to various biological, chemical, and environmental factors. One of them, first one, natural aging. You know, especially in here in Turkey, in the world, natural aging could be parameters. Color change, sunlight, particular UV radiation undergoes oxidation, causing its color to darken or fade. Biological factors, as mentioned before, fungi are one of the primary biological factors. Another factor, chemical change with chemical reaction. Certain extractives in wood, depending on wood type, especially extracts is very considerable, such as tanning, can cause color change. Moisture and humidity is another parameter. High moisture content can lead color change for wood samples. Surface treatments and finishing treatments. As we know, surface treatments, some chemicals used for surface properties can also affect wood's color. Let's look our result. Is at the beginning of our research, we identified of our species. This is Castanea sativa, chestnut samples. Another test I said before, resistograph test results. You can see here some color differences. According to test results, output insect damage and internal cracks in the interior of the door were determined. Old wood, for this image, old wood. Another samples, same things. It was determined that old wood 2 was stronger than sample number 1 and had no internal cracks, especially in these samples. Another holes, cracks was observed. The measurement, color change, when we look at the color change, color measurement result, we can say that the measurement, the delta A values of all samples change, of course, depending on the service life of wooden structural elements. You can see here the measurement are carried on color space, where L values represent lightness. Higher values indicate lighter wood. Red and A and B represents the yellow and red axis, positive values. Lightness, this value is mentioned before, that is the lightest or brightness wood samples. All wood samples have low values for the A axis, meaning none are strongly red or green. B yellow-blue axis, the values in the B axis show variation in the yellow component of the color. The highest color change was found for old wood samples, of course, one comparing to recent chestnut wood. Old wood has typical change with age and undergoes many environmental effects. Conclusions. After approximately 100 years of service life, of course, the color of the chestnut wooden elements darkened, internal cracks formed, and they exposed to biological damage. At the last of my speech, I can say that this is a small part of our ongoing study. That is why we are focusing now on the importance of evaluating materials from an engineering perspective. In our future works, we will conduct chemical analysis of material. This is very important. This is very considerable. As mentioned before, wood components is very important parameters to change color change and for degradation, especially for conservation. in the wood and their impact on its structural properties. Additionally, we will perform comparative tests to determine the mechanical, physical on the surface properties of the samples. This is also important for construction. Strength is very, very high, considerable parameters for construction. The data analysis also such as further analysis can be performed in the next stage of this study. The data obtained from our study can also be used to contribute to the project by analyzing the preservative effects of potash, tar, resin, or charcoal in historical and modern application. Such data can be useful in developing best practice for future preservation projects. As mentioned before, same things, especially while selecting wood materials for restoration, consider durability, environmental adaptation, and resistance to biological threats. Can be used as reference our studies and other studies for future restoration projects, providing significant insight into the selection of appropriate materials for old timber structure. This is our related some articles. My colleagues is carrying out some studies. You can see here. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. If you have questions, if not, we can move on. The next speaker is Istvan Botar, and the title of his presentation is Dendrochronological Dating of Transylvania's Historical Wooden Constructions and the Conclusions Drawn from them regarding the use of the forest.
Okay, thank you very much. Dear all, I'm glad being here. Thank you for the invitation to Elena. My presentation is going to be around 10 or 15 minutes and only a short introduction in what we do regarding dendrochronology, historical monument, wooden structures here in Transylvania, and some conclusions. The title was given by Elena, I guess. And some conclusions regarding forest management, forest history. We are a small museum. I'm an archaeologist, and our team has an archaeological background. So we are dealing with building archaeology, monument protection, cultural heritage. We are not so familiar with forest and silviculture, but having this data in our hands and my interest in settlement history, I read and make some research about climate change, about environment change, and this intervention of mine is going to be a short presentation of these. So what we have done in the last 20 years, we have around 300 sites research, 378 monuments or samples taken or arranged. And then being here in Sibiu, I guess I brought you here probably the most interesting result. This is the biggest church here in Sibiu. Probably you will visit it, or I invite you to visit it. The biggest church here in the Huet Square. And this, is, as you see, has a huge roof above it. Actually, it has more independent structures above it. And what we have done here, we could take samples from more structures within a Hungarian project. And what we have found, it was very interesting, where we found existing trusses in the south transept and in the chancel around the last decade of the 14th century. So trusses and the roof itself, a structure from the late 14th century. But what was interesting, we found more elements, joint parts and assembly marks without function. So we took also new samples. And based on this, and based on dendro data and documentation, we were able to reconstruct the original trusses from this area of the roof. And this is the earliest standing truss and earliest roof here in Romania known from the middle of the 14th century, exactly 1353. And what was much more interesting, again, that based on dendrochronological data, we were able to reconstruct the construction phases of the whole church. And even if this is a well-known church in a good location, very easy to access, there were no real good data about its periodization. And dendrochronology was the main tool to make this one. And I will show you how it goes. On the chancel, we found reused elements, not in situ, but in secondary position. And based on this, we could date the building of the chancel, the choir, to the early 14th century, 1339. And again, the transept and the south place was built in the middle of the century. And former towards west, as you see, 1 decade later, the main nave, the roof of the main nave was constructed in 1363. And what's interesting regarding of development of techniques and developing of carpentry science, let's say it so, we knew from dendrochronological data that a big intervention came out by the end of the 14th century. They were put on and assembled new longitudinal strengthened elements. And at that time also the chancel was rebuilt. So we dated only reconstructed elements. So we knew the development of the construction site and the big intervention, the first restoration, let's say it so, by the end of the 14th century. And naturally, the dendrodite approved again a new construction date for the so-called ferula, western for the tower, and for the south collateral sheaf by the early 16th century. And going backwards, or going onwards, from a big urban settlement and a big urban construction to a very small, very rural church, an Orthodox church in Valari in Hunedoara County, where he also made some sampling from different parts of the church. And this was the first example to us. Besides dating, which is naturally very important for the art historian and architects and restoration specialists, we found out that the tower was assembled, mounted much later above the so-called pronaos, the western part of the Orthodox Church. And afterwards, we had more wooden church researched in the whole area of Transylvania, and naturally, newly, even south from the Carpathians and Gorge and Mehedinsk County. And in each cases, we were succeeded to date the towers much later than the church itself. So it seems to be, I don't want to make too much announcements, but it seems that it's a general fact that the wooden bell towers were built and put later on the earlier wood churches. And naturally, we also make some non-invasive data collection on furniture, ceilings, painted ceilings, doors, and anything else. I won't take it all in the list. Just a couple of examples. This is a very interesting one from a very small church in St. Dominic, East Transylvania. This was the first time that we used some kind of camera to analyze and to measure the ring widths. And naturally, we had naturally, it was not so natural. After some decades, it became natural. But we managed to date it, which was the first task. Okay, we went through. But what was much more interesting, that art historians are saying that this altar panel has to be, due to historical and art historian observation, has to be an import piece from a Salzburg Forschung of Austria, which for me it was very strange, because this is a small church that it does not have the chance to have a direct connection into Australia. It would be very fine, but it's not natural. And then the data was able to deny this because our datation, we had much more stronger connection in Transylvania. We didn't have any connection with Salzburg, of course. I asked the help of Austrian colleagues, Michael Grabner and others, and naturally they could not date the Salzburg piers. And the dendro data proved that the altar panel was painted in local wood, more precisely, very probably a local wood from the south of Transylvania. So very probably somewhere near Brașov, Sighișoara, or Sibiu. So this was the first time when we had some kind of results regarding dendroprovenancy. I brought you here the example of Brasov Lutheran Church, just to show the example that after the big fire of the church, it's called Black Church because it burned out in the 17th century, excuse me. And after the fire, naturally, they built a new church. You can see the dating and of the samples. But what is much more interesting that they used mixed species. So they used oak and also coniferous species to the same structure. And regarding myths and topos, the big church of the big fire of the Brasov should have burned the whole city. At least everybody says so. This house is just near the tower, near the church, and it's a view from the tower of the church. And on the first floor, they were found some painted ceilings, wood elements, and then the data gave us a short chronology somewhere in the middle of the 16th century, which is important. That says the big fire did not destroy at all the whole city in the area, because just meters away we found medieval or late medieval wood elements in in situ positions. I brought you only one example of a fortified church, the Almavi, or the Alman in German, which win the Cultural Heritage, European Heritage Award this year. So that's why I brought you here. And the only one from the several parts researched and dated, I bring you only one, the Western Gate, from which we take several samples. And as you can see, it's a very complicated structure above the gallery. So it is quite complicated to understand which beams goes where and why and what it has to done there. And after the analysis, it came out very clearly how this is the building date, the first phase of the tower, and several, at least 4 interventions and renovations, and each has a very good periodization for the tower. The second one, Sighisoara, the former Dominican church, was a very, very good experience for us, because above the choir and above the nave, as you can see, there are typologically two different roofs. So everybody that looks at that, it says that yeah, this should be medieval, of course, this should be something in the later period. And then the data, again, then the technology teaches us, again, to be much more smaller and much more quieter, because, as you can see, different parts from the two roofs, typologically different parts of the roofs, are coming from the same period. This says that above this church there are two different roofs, typologically, but built in the same time. So therefore we had to take the conclusion that different carpenters or different schools were working above the church, and therefore the so-called terminologies, that's we call it Baroque type or Gothic type roofs, it's a bit inaccurate because it misleads us to false conclusions. Just a summary of what we have done. Our chronologies go back to the 13th century for Quercus and Abies Alba, and a bit later for Pythia Abies. And we are around now 150 dated historical roof structure here in Transylvania, and the future aim would be to make a book, a conclusion, a historical roof of Transylvania, on which we are working together with my wife and my friend. And some conclusions and some observations regarding forest management, wood and forests. First of all, I didn't put it on the table, but thank for the first chairman who was speaking. I mentioned right now that these new ideas. First of all, it seems after dendrochronological research that they used fresh wood. So we can always read and talk about that wood has to be dried and something like that. No, dendro data says that the carpenters used fresh wood. The timber was used at least in maximum 2 years, but the majority of them, they were, and then another interesting thing, that the felling period, summer or winter, and for me as an archaeologist, I was always told that they always cut the trees only in winter, and this is logic, but because it's much easier to move the wood is not that heavy, the timber is not that heavy, so it's logical. But in every structure, almost in every structure, we found also summer felled trees. So this is not a rule, not an EU description how you should done. If they needed some new wood, new timber, they cut also in summer. Going onwards. In the Middle Ages, it seems to be, at least at this point of the research, and we are having now 2 decades of research, the oak in the Middle Ages has a monopoly for sure, at least in the central part of Transylvania. So we didn't find anything else. I'm talking about roofs. The oak is the most important species used for roofs, and we find silver fir, Abies alba, in 2 locations, in Sibiu here and Bistrița in the north of Transylvania, but both of them are very close to the high mountains, right on the feet of the mountains. So it seems that the carpenters from inside used oak, and those who were much closer to the silver fir forests, they are very close to the high mountains, they tried to use silver fir. And one example of another species, this is the Norway spruce, the Picea. It was only found in the Eastern Carpathians on 4 or 6 roofs. So it looks that this is an isolated or very limited use of this species. And in this area, it came a question of the carpenter's choice. Why? Because we know from written sources and toponyms that they had oak forests also in the neighborhood. And still they used a Norway spruce Picea for the roofs of medieval churches. So I think that if they could have a choice, they choose pines, probably because it's much more easier to work with, I guess, but you will tell me. And it's much more easier, it's not that heavy. Taking a conclusion, it looks like we have a chronology of vertical development and the altitude use of forests. So in the low regions, if they had forests, oak forests, they used oak. Those who were much closer to Abies forest, they tried to use Abies. Those who could choose between oak and Picea, they used Picea. And Picea becomes, which was earlier in the Middle Ages, till the, let's say, 18th century, only isolated and very rare case used. It becomes a dominating species from the 19th century, because afterwards we do not found oak roofs at all. So it looks like Picea became almost the only species used for roof construction. And some, maybe not just a result, but potential of dendrodata, we never had time for deal with this, because as I said, we are archaeologists and we are working for dating and helping restoration work, but still, from these data sets that we have, it's visible that they had communities in different periods and different locations, had in their neighborhood different type of forests, some of them very, very young forests. The tree used for Mihailén roof, for example, have only 30, 40 years, so very, very young forest and 3 years. We have also mixed-aged forests, and in some cases it's visible that they had very old forests in the neighborhood from which they constructed their structures. From forest type management, it's very easy to see on this diagram that the starting point of the samples is almost on the same period of time. For me, that shows that probably we have to count with clearing, with forest clearing somewhere here, and all the trees started to grow together, and that's why they have almost, all of them, almost the same age. So if we do not have any written source of how they manage the forest, what was their idea of forest management, in this case, it's very easy to see that they were cutting the whole tree, the whole wood, and afterwards they had this similarity in the ages of the wood and forests. And another interesting thing is this is Târgu Muneș, the former Franciscan church in the middle of the city. As you can see, they had a late medieval roof structure in the 140, 80, something like that. And when they were building the original structure, they used timber, wood, from mixed, so let's call it natural forest in the 15th century. And after the burn, it came an intervention, a new reparation, and new elements were built in the structure. And you can see, I'm talking about the same structure, only the new elements which they put in, they're much younger, they are coming from a much younger forest, very probably again, which was forming after the clearing in the early 17th century. And different forestry history by species. This is again the brush type. It seems that for oak forest, they had much more older oak trees to handle with, which means that the forestry approach of this forest was different for pines and for oaks. And what I wanted to mention, I don't know how many time I have, that in our region, all the trees, it seems to be local. There are no transport possibilities. Our rivers are not that big. Rafting, the first rafting data, what we could date from dendrological data and prove it with written data, are only from the 17th century on the Mureș River. And we could date some monuments from Alba Iulia, western part of Transylvania, from chronologies of the upper Mureș Valley from Harghita and Mureș County. Do I have some time, so should I skip?
Yes, because the lunch is...
Yes or not?
It is prepared right now.
I can save my cards for the next game, so it's no harm.
Okay.
In this case, thank you very much.
Yes, we can continue the discussion maybe in the lunch time, if you like.
Okay, I'm open it.
I think there are also many questions. I already have 3. So,
Just to show you what is on the menu, if in the next meeting we will be invited, I will talk to you about, for instance, landscape dynamics on a study case in the Chuk region, about how the originally deciduous forest went to coniferous forest, and what kind of data do we have for landscape management, and how the charcoal mining, agriculture, and so on moved on and changed the landscape. So that's it. Maybe next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. The last presentation of this session, a brief historical itinerary of the manufacture and use of charcoal in Romania, will be held by Emanuela Beldean from Transylvania University of Brașov.
Hello. I will end this session of working presentation with a brief itinerary of manufacture and use of charcoal in Romania. And I decided to return to our topic related to potash. And I want to present myself. My name is Emanuela Beldean, Emma Beldean. I'm from Transylvania University. I'm a teacher. The main subject I teach are wood conservation, preservation, and wood restoration. I'm not a specialist in charcoal, but I try to make a documentation about charcoal in Romania. And it was very interesting for me, and I think is interesting for you. And I decided to travel in Romania and show you some charcoal manufacture and use on our territory during the history. First of all, to continue my colleague presentation, I want to, to present a little bit of, a little part of, I don't know what happened. Oh, sorry. about the Romanian forest landscape, which is actually, this is the situation at this time. I don't know what. Is to yes. In Romania, we have around 6.7 million hectares of forest that represent, I don't know what's happened, which represent 27% of the Romanian territory. Sorry, I don't know. And the main wooden species is beech, which represent 32% of the Romanian forest, followed by resinous spruce, Picha abies, and oak, Quercus species, with 18%, and other species. Sorry? Oh, but why? Oh, sorry. And you can fix? Okay, thank you. So, okay, thank you. So as you see on the map, with the green color is represented the forest landscape. I try to present here a little bit of charcoal making methods. Maybe some of you know these methods. And after documentation, I wrote there the definition according to our organization. So charcoal is the solid residue remaining when wood is carbonized or pyrolyzed under controlled condition in a closed space such as charcoal kiln. We know the traditional methods, yes, considered as basic methods. First is to stack the wood above the ground and cover the stack with earth and making a mound side. And the other one, some kilns from reinforced concrete, bricks, or metal. And the modern one, in close retorts, equipments which are well designed and safe now. Process, I try to summarize the main stages of carbonization, which is heating to 100 degree, dehydration between 100 and 120. After that, the exothermic stage, reaching 500 to 700 degree, and cooling. As raw material, we know we use broadleaf trees, especially. The material must be dried, must be dense, and highly lignified. And I found that from 5 tons of wood result 1 ton of charcoal. I'm not a specialist, but maybe. So let's go to travel in Romania. The history of charcoal in Romania. I must mention that I made a documentary research, just documentary, after electronic sources. And I discovered the following informations. recent researches from 2018-2023 revealed a fire activity and the presence of charcoal in the northern Romanian Carpathian, Rodna, Maramuresh, and Bukovina. This evidence date back to 11,000 years before present. Also, archaeological discoveries in the area of Botoșani, Ghilenești, Cristești have revealed traces of former charcoal manufacturing areas from the Middle Ages. I found a document referring to Hunedoara County, which is very well documented. Here is the pointer. Here is the source. And between 17th and 16th and 17th centuries, the charcoal manufacturing was connected with iron ore exploitation. Since the 16th century, there is an evidence of the use of charcoal for the extraction and processing of mineral in Hunedoara County, and we can see here some, some centers of this area. In the middle of the 19th century, the exploitation of mineral coal replaced the charcoal. In the same period, in Moldova, the charcoal was used for the extraction of copper by dislocating large pieces of ore with fire. That's what I found. The 80th and 90th centuries, there is a great activity in this period. In the 18th century, with the development of craftsmanship in iron working, charring was developed near the iron processing centers, especially in Beiuș, Bihor County. In 70 and 57, near Reșița, which is an important town in Romania, is mentioned the existence of charcoal burners who laid the foundation of the future town Reșița. It became the most important steelmaking center from Romania. From the 19th century until 1920, at the Anina iron and steel factory, it is mentioned that there was one blast furnace working with 2/3 of charcoal. At the end of 19th century, the forest resources from Hunedoara area have decreased because of this industry, and the demand of charcoal increased from 300,000 hectares of forest resulted to 1,000 tons of charcoal. Look here, the map with the main center of charcoal in Romania. The area are represented, these are counties, Maramuresh, Bistrița, Suceava, and this is the northern part. This is the main part for charcoal production, and the center, Harghita, Covasna. The 20th century, in 1905 at Hunedoara, again, there were 23 suppliers for charcoal and another 38 small producer supplying charcoal for ironworks. During the interwar period, 2 two factories of charcoal and wood distillation products are mentioned in Reșița and Anina. And after that, the communist period and the industrialization that followed found the craft of making charcoal in several areas of the country, especially in Timiș, Alba, Hunedoara, Karaș, Severin, Gorj counties. Is mentioned that only in Hunedoara, at that time, there were 26 charcoal making sites in 1980. From citizen stories, the Kaliman Mount is in the Kaliman Mount is the last charcoal manufactory operated until the 75 years. In Bistra Mureșului until 70-80s. In Bihor County until 90, and in the area of Grosii Țibleșului Mountains until the 80s. And I make a map with location of charcoal in Romania. This is the most active area for charcoal production, and this one. With red bullets, I marked the active charcoal manufacturer. Yes, today, yes. As you see, this center of charcoal production are located around the mountain. Which is the current situation. I'm not so sure is very precisely, but I know that there are still a few producers in Lupeni, which is the most known manufacturer of charcoal in Harghita. And there are in Maramureș, Strâmbu Băiut, some familial association that make charcoal. Most of the geographical area, once famous for charcoal production, are now national park, and this activity is forbidden. And I put here another map which represent the national park. Look here. That is the area with the most charcoal producer in the past. And now we have a lot of national parks. And the same here and here. All these colors represent parks depending on the importance. Okay. And I put here some charcoal producers in Romania with sites and the year of activity. And some of them are producers, some of them are producer and importers. And I think it's useful for this project. And some information about charcoal market. There is a document, but is a little bit expensive, and I don't have so much information about this. But it seems that the fourth consecutive year, the Romanian wood charcoal market recorded growth. Wood charcoal consumption peaked in 2023 and is likely to see gradual growth in the immediate term. And Romania is now an importer too of charcoal. I put here some databases, and thank you.
presentation, a lot of study and research for your project. Thank you very much for your attention. This first session that we had today is now ending. I would like to invite you to have a lunch break. It is scattered here in the building, so we don't have just to go to the kitchen area, choose something and go outside where you see the tables. But before doing that, I would kindly ask you to help me with some organization matter, which means that I need to know who will join us in this evening at the dinner at the terrace we have reserved, because I need to give them a number of persons. So please raise up your hand so I can quickly number, or somebody helps me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, thank you very much. So we are almost 25. Please enjoy your lunch and see you back. Yes, please.